What's up, agents? Biz here with another Division 2 video. After the previous video, I had a strong reception from a few viewers hoping to see more PvP tips and builds. As I'm a man of the people and a fan of a good sequel, I'm happy to oblige. Today we'll be going all Phil Jackson and talking more about the group as opposed to the individual. It's team dynamic time, so let's get into it. So ever since the creation of mobile gaming, developers have been doing everything in their digital power to bring us together. Online co-op has been a big slice of the gaming market, and it doesn't show signs of slowing. People are getting together to take out difficult content, share ideas, and maybe make some friends along the way. Fast forward to right now, and we have the Division and its Dark Zone. Now for those of you who don't know what a Dark Zone is, please see part 1 of this video for a thorough overview. For those who want the cliff notes, kill things, get gear, no Apparel, expensive helicopters, kill players. There we go. All caught up. The online co-op is very strong in this mode, and unless you're a god, running solo will most likely get you more salty than Chili's appetizer sampler as you helplessly watch a group hijack your sweet, sweet loot. Just like Paul Rudd and I Love You Man, you need some freaking friends. Beyond that though, you need to balance out a thing I call group composition. Group composition is simply the act of purposely running builds made to support and synergize with your other teammates. You see, it's one thing to have your sweaty 4-stack, but if there's no thought as to how you'll work together and your plan is just to out-DPS the server, it will most likely fail. Just like the 1990 Chicago Bulls, you won't win a ring without the right people and builds around you. Triangle, baby! To start, let's take a look at some gear talents and how they might work together. As a heads up, this is in no way a comprehensive list. If you have a build that's working, leave it in the comments below, or even show us that it works using the hashtag handlingbusiness, and you might be featured in a future video. On backpacks, we begin with Overclock, which helps the team's reload speed and skill haste when you're near skills. We also have Safeguard, which increases skill repair when at full armor. This ability allows you to heal more effectively, but that still helps the team. For the tanks, we have Leadership and Protector, which both give bonus armor to the team in different ways. Leadership, the bonus armor comes when you do a cover-to-cover move, and Protector will distribute bonus armor when your shield is damaged. Both good as bonus armor procs or synergizes other talents that we'll get into. I actually very much like Protector on the team tank. Moving into damage output, you have Opportunistic, where you can amplify damage for 5 seconds by 10% with a marksman rifle or shotgun hit. Also, Companion is useful when moving as a group, as you'll get 15% extra damage when an ally is nearby. Neat. Finally, in backpack talents, let's look at Galvanize. This talent grants bonus armor to a nearby team when you blind, ensnare, confuse, or shock an enemy. We like bonus armor. Let me tuck this one away real quick. Next, there are a few chest talents that pair well with teamwork too. First one on the docket is Emphatic Resolve. This gives a weapon and skill damage boost to any ally you repair. This talent is more effective the more skill tiers you have too. Overwatch is another good option for our marksmen out there. When you stay in cover, you and your allies get an extra 12% weapon damage. Finally, we have 2 talents that can net some bonus armor for our teammates. Protected Reload will give you and your team bonus armor when you reload, and Vanguard makes your shield invulnerable for 5 seconds while giving your team a percentage of your armor as bonus armor. We like that. Now that's a lot of gear synergy. Before you leave this info dump, let's look at the only weapon talent that supports team play. And of course we're talking about Vindictive. This is available on all guns and will give critical hit chance and damage buffs to your team when you kill a status affected enemy. Now that we have those pieces together, let's do some theory crafting for some great ideas for build composition. So in front of us, each column will represent a player. For this group, we're going to lean heavy into bonus armor and getting damage through the chest talent Intimidate. This combo of keeping alive and dealing damage will go together like peanut butter and sweet blue bonus armor jelly. The first build is going to be one of your 2 main DPS guys. I say main because in this group, we shy away from a dedicated healer. So if one teammate is left standing, they could still hold it down with their own DPS. To start, we went with a Seska glove for crit hit chance. Then on the holster, we have a Grupo Sombra to add crit damage. In the knees, and kind of a recurring theme, we have the Fox's Prayer for extra damage out of cover and the rifle damage. Moving into the backpack, we went with a Walker Harris name piece, the Matador. This perfect adrenaline rush will be one of many ways we get bonus armor that will synergize with our chest piece. Speaking of, we went with a Fenris chest with an Intimidate to amplify damage output, both with extra AR damage and the amplified damage from the chest talent. Rounding out the build, we have a second Walker Harris piece, giving us amplified weapon and armor damage. This build is a 3 red, 3 blue, 0 core setup, and we're preferably using a striker shield from the firewall specialization and a decoy for the skills. Also for the guns, like an AR for the primary and a rifle for mid to long engagements. Currently in these, my favorite in slots would be the Eagle Bearer or Black Market AK with fast hands for the ARs, and either a classic M1A or an LVOAC, either of those with Boomerang for my rifle. The second build is a faster and simpler version of our first player's build. I put both up to show there are multiple ways to get a high crit, intimidate, bonus armor getting, DPS style build. Nothing wrong with experimenting as long as the desired outcome is the same, which is slay and bone. You'll notice on this build, I did away with the one-piece bonuses and went with Providence, which will give us crit hit chance, damage, and headshot damage. I also subbed the Fenris for Sokolov, as this build will be using an SMG. Having a variety of guns in the team means you can kind of slot different functions if needed. Also in this case, this build should be a lot more up close and personal, so SMGs will thrive. The main difference in the two DPS players here will be the skills. This second player is much more of an infiltrator and will be a handy line of defense when you run up and have to counter a skill build. We use a jammer pulse along with the decoy to be able to get the drop on anyone trying to knock you down. Weapon-wise, we again go rifle for the mid to long range, but the change of an SMG is encouraged. In this slot, I really like the Lady Death, the named Vector Dark Winter, or even if your status effect teammate doesn't have it, the named CMMG Banshee, the Grudge, could come in handy. So this has been a lot of info to process, so to break things up, we're going to take an intermission, as we have a submission for a segment we like to call Handling Business. If you find yourself doing something cool in the Division 2, send it to me on Twitter at HeyIt'sBusiness with the hashtag HandlingBusiness, and you could be featured. So without further ado, let's roll it.
Contaminated gear detected. System reactivated. Rogue agent neutralized. Rogue Stinger Hive detected.
Okay, so we've seen the main damage dealers, and you might be thinking, boy, these guys are going to have a hard time staying vertical, and you're right. Without group synergy, these guys are going to get clapped harder than a dad's hands cheering on his son's t-ball team. We need synergy, and Phil Jackson is growing impatient. Enter build number 3. Now this build is a tank that can hang with the best of them. We have a little bit of damage coming from our Sokolov gloves. We then have to get status effects to get extra armor regen with golem gear. We also see a familiar friend in the Fox's Prayer make a comeback. I said it in an earlier video that the Fox's Prayers are just that good, and I stand by it. Now for the backpack talent on our second golem piece, we went with Vigilance. Now you might be thinking, Biz, Protector will help the team with more bonus armor, rabble. To that point, you might be right. But should everyone go down, Vigilance will help keep your damage up. There's no I in team, but there is a me, so consider this a little self-care. Moving into the chest, we went with the named Gila piece, the Point Man. We went with Point Man as opposed to Tardigrade, as the talent will be more successful on a high armor build. This baby has perfect Vanguard, which will make your shield immune for a bit, and give your team that sweet, sweet blue bonus armor. Make sure you're coordinating the shield deploy with your teammates, however, so they know they're clear to engage with Intimidate firing on all 4 cylinders. Finally, rounding out this build, we have a one-piece Spellstone Mask for a little more armor regen, making this setup a 1 red, 5 blue, 0 core build. For the skills, I went with the Crusader Shield along with the Shrapnel Trap. You may want to use the Demolitionist specialization for this to net a little more explosive damage, but either way the trap is a nice distraction. Lastly, at weapons, we see the SMG rifle combo make a comeback. For this setup, I'd almost exclusively recommend a Lady Death. The amp damage when moving, along with the movement buff, will help keep you dealing damage while tanking. Lastly, in this motley crew, we have our skill status guy. Now this is probably both the easiest to set up of the group, but also the least conventional and the guy most likely not to survive solo. When used right, though, this build will be the glue that not only holds your team together, but it'll also be the glue that keeps the other team from moving. Yeah. Here we have 4 pieces of Eclipse protocol. I went with all 4 for the chance of my status effects to spread. I may have been crazy for not using the Chester backpack talents here from Eclipse, but here we are. 2021. We're going with Galvanize? Wait. Is that right? Yes, you heard it here. On this setup, we're going to use Galvanize on a Golan brand piece. Like we talked about earlier, this is all about synergy, and this team relies on bonus armor. Getting that from people we status effect is just too cool for school. Rounding out the set in all its supporting glory is a tardigrade chest piece. I had to slip this somewhere in the team and figured here would be the best place to keep it without sacrificing damage. Tardigrade will be another tool in the box that keeps the bonus armor flowing like a chocolate fountain at a junior prom. In the weapons category, we continue synergizing the team. We went with the exotic shotgun, the Scorpio, to make more statuses happen, and then complemented it with the Grudge SMG. Using a perfect form of Vindictive will give the team crit hit chance and damage boosts when killing a status affected enemy. Just remember to switch to it before finishing them off. Now you can have all these builds, but without proper teamwork and group play, you and yours will be ripped, as opposed to being the ones who rip. With that said, before we go, I want to give some tips to supplement last video's tips. These are more group oriented, so be sure to try these out with friends. Tip number 1, communicate focus fire. This is probably the best tip I have, and honestly we should end the video here. But we're not. Seriously though, communication especially between your DPS players is key. If you can turn one of their players to smoke early, it'll give the whole team an early edge. Tip number 2, act fast, kill faster. The DZ dance as to who will go rogue needs to be left in 2020, in my opinion. If you're going into the DZ for PvP, flag early and often so you don't give the opposite team time to set up. The best offense is really good offense, so just do it. Tip number 3, wear the same apparel. Now this is something I picked up during a game of Warzone, but it's so simple and overlooked. A good way to scramble the other team is to look exactly the same. There's a good chance the confusion will inhibit their ability to call out, and that is a situation that you can take advantage of all day. And that will wrap things up. Thanks so much for stopping by. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe for more Division 2 content. I'll be picking up in my video drop soon, so you won't want to miss. Also, if you're looking to group up on Division, upcoming Outriders, or a vast library of AAA titles, check out the community I run with at discord.gg/rapturegaming. Have a great day. Biz out.